Hello, my name's Andrew, and today we're talking about the pros and the cons of the Vivo Barefoot Primus LITE KNIT and the Vivo Barefoot ASANA. So basically, Vivo Barefoot has a lot of different barefoot shoe styles, which is great, right? Because they fit different use cases, but it can get really confusing, and these two shoes are a prime example because they're very similar, but they do have some differences, which we're going to talk about. So let's just take a look at the Primus LITE KNIT first. And it's got a nice wide toe box. It is a little bit more squared off in the front, which is great because sometimes Vivos can get a little bit pointy in the front. But it's a knit upper, so it's got some really good stretch to it. There's a decent amount of breathability with this upper. It's a vegan synthetic material and it works pretty well for all seasons because, like I said, because of the stretch, when you open it up and you start to bend the shoe, you get a little bit more airflow coming in through the perforation here. But then in winter, it's also resistant enough that you can take it out in colder weather, especially if you put like an insole in there to warm things up, maybe a couple layers of thin socks. So yeah, I've run on roads in all seasons pretty much with this. And it's a good training option as well because they've got some reinforcement here, which you can see on the top. And they're quite durable. I didn't have any problems with them so far in terms of the glue coming out or the laces on the top, and I think the reinforcement is definitely part of that. And these shoes are kind of like a 50-50 cross-training casual type of option. They've got some style to them, and because of the knit upper, they look a little bit more casual, but they do have some technical chops to them as well. Something I like about the knit version is that it has a nice taper to the heel here. It has kind of a curve, so your heel sits in really well there. And if you open the shoe up, it's kind of hard to see because it's black, but they've got these cushion pads here on either side, so it sort of like locks your heel into the back of the shoe, which I like. Get a pull tab, which is convenient, obviously. And it's a slip-on upper, so it's very stretchy in the front of the shoe. You can just slide straight in there, whether you're wearing a barefoot or socks. I usually wear some Injinji toe socks just to keep the shoe clean, and also because it kind of spreads out your toes, which creates a little bit more breathability, especially if a synthetic material like this. I find when I put synthetic straight on my skin, it's not as breathable. It can get just a little bit sweaty, even if there is some airflow coming in through there. So that's just my personal preference, but they can work barefoot too. In terms of the sole, it's a 4mm sole. It's extremely flexible. This is one of Vivo's thinnest soles. Only the Sensus is thinner at 3mm, but I think 4mm is great for training because it has a little bit more abrasion resistance if you're gonna go on like gravel or if you're kind of like going back and forth at the gym. It's a great cross-training shoe. It's a great running shoe, even doing tempo workouts. The only thing that I would say that's not quite technical enough is like if you're sprinting at the track and like really hot days, I think there's just not quite as much breathability here, and that's where the original Primus LITE comes in because it's like more of an open mesh. And I did a comparison between these two shoes, or between those two shoes, which I'll link to here. But yeah, overall, I think the lockdown is really good as well too because they have these kind of flat laces on the Primus LITE Knit and they hold very well. I never had to adjust these shoes. I just adjusted the laces once when I first got them, and then you can just slip into the back. So yeah, overall, really convenient. Durability seems good. Sole still looks good after doing long runs and tempo runs and stuff like that. So yeah, overall, I really liked it. As a training shoe, I personally prefer it more than the original Primus LITE. I think it's just a bit more comfortable, a little bit wider, and a little more versatile too because it's something you can use for casual as well. So let's talk about the ASANA. The ASANA also has a wide toe box, but I would say it's almost just a little bit wider than the Primus LITE Knit. And that's partially just because it's more of a casual shoe, and so they're not quite as worried about, needing to be super snug. I really like this divot here. This is one difference that I really like because sometimes with the Primus LITE Knit, because there's no divot on either side, when you bend, you can get just a little bit of crimping here. It's not a big deal because it is a pretty stretchy upper, but minor detail. With the ASANA, when you bend it, it doesn't really crimp here, and you've got some nice wool material up top. So also breathable, but versatile for multiple seasons. I find the wool blend is a little bit better for temperature regulation and wicking moisture away from your body versus synthetic. That just tends to be my experience for natural materials. I like the feel of them better as well because they're just a little bit softer feeling than synthetic. but it's got some great stretch as well. It just feels soft, you know, like wearing a sock. The ASANA, like I said, it's a little bit more casual, so it does feel a little bit softer, a little bit looser all around. They've got leather portions here, wild hide leather, and it's kind of sculpted away from the shoe, which I like because it feels more like putting your foot into a slipper as opposed to something that's a little bit more constrictive. The trade-off to that is that it's not gonna be as supportive for doing like back, you know, like really quick side-to-side cross-training type of thing. It's great for long runs. It's great for wearing around for like errands, going to the grocery store, I don't know, flying, traveling, that sort of thing. And you get a decent amount of lockdown with the laces here. They've also got flat laces, but they're a bit softer than they are on the Primus LITE KNIT. It's a bit more of a casual lace, so again, you've got some more play in here, but I just find that it feels more comfortable to wear all day long versus the Primus LITE KNIT, which just has a little bit more structure. You know, there's some more reinforcement around here that just makes it feel a little bit more firm, which is what you want for cross training. But yeah, also a slip-on upper, very stretchy here, easy to slide in, perhaps even a little bit more easy to slide in than the knit because it's got leather reinforcement in the back, which is great for durability. Something with this shoe though, because the leather is more smooth, I find that you can get a little bit more slippage in the back. It's not a problem for like long runs, but if you were to like try to go and sprint at the track, you would get a little bit more movement. And like I said, there's not quite as much lockdown here. So it's not a shoe that I would use for intense, like, you know, back and forth or faster workouts. But if you were lifting this shoe, perfectly fine. Also has that 4mm sole, which is really versatile on pretty much everything unless you're gonna try to go on, you know, trails and rocks and stuff like that. It does have some reinforcement, just like the Primus LITE KNIT here, which is where you're oftentimes going to be landing if you're doing any kind of running, forefoot, any kind of agility stuff really. So that's the key wear spot. And then you've got some more like hexagonal grip around here, which is great for roads. I mean, you can take it on gravel. It'll just wear down a little bit faster just because it's such a thin sole. But my original Primus Lites have, God, I don't even know, 3,000–4,000 miles I think on them now. I've had them for like 7 years and I still take them out once in a while and they're still going. So it's a good sole. The ASANA looks pretty good in terms of durability. I haven't used it yet as much as the Primus LITE KNIT just because these are newer. I just got these this year, so we'll see. But it's pretty similar in terms of the gluing, so it should be pretty fine. Just in terms of durability for a thin sole like this, one of my favorite tips is just to keep your stride shorter and to make sure that you're not going like this, you know, twisting to the side when you're coming through your stride or scuffing, because that's something, especially on gravel and like rougher pavement, that will chew up a shoe really fast. But if you're just coming down smoothly like this, a type of sole, you know, a thin sole like this can last a really long time because it really doesn't create much abrasion if you have a good short stride like that. So yeah, anything else that I want to say? I mean, I think the ASANA, it just looks a little bit more classy. Like if you were wearing these into work, you might be able to get away with it a little bit more than something that has more of a training vibe like the Primus LITE KNIT. But yeah, I think both well-designed shoes, fairly simple, straightforward with, you know, just a little design detail. So yeah, those are my pros and cons, but if you want to support the channel, you can use the code FULTY10 for 10% off Vivo Barefoot. Browse and filter more products with the shoe finder tool at my website barefootwear.org, or watch my zero drop transition video to learn more about barefooting. Finally, if you have a question about the Vivo Barefoot Primus LITE KNIT or the ASANA or about barefoot shoes in general, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Peace.